Hello all you fabulous Ford students. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about chemical bonding. Our learning goals today, you should be able to describe the types of chemical bonds and predict how atoms will bond together. We have two types of chemical bonding. The first one is ionic bonding. In ionic bonding, atoms gain or lose electrons, giving them a positive or negative charge, thus becoming an ion. Opposite charges are going to attract, and so a positive will stick to a negative, just like magnets are sticking together. In covalent bonding, atoms are going to be sharing electrons. So one important thing to know when dealing with bonds is the oxidation number. This is the number of electrons that an atom loses or gains to fill its electron shells. Atoms want to gain or lose electrons so they can be stable and have a full outer shell. So here I have drawn a Lewis dot structure of a sodium atom. It has one valence electron. So what it is going to want to do is it is want to get rid of that one valence electron. When it does that, it is going to have a positive 1 charge. The positive 1 would be its oxidation number. In ionic bonding, this is going to form when an atom of a nonmetal takes one or more electrons from an atom of a metal, so both atoms end up with 8 valence electrons. So here again is our sodium atom, and it is a metal, and we're going to have it form an ionic bond with chlorine, which is a nonmetal. So sodium gives up its electron to chlorine. It now has a full outer shell. And chlorine, by getting that one little electron, it now has 8 valence electrons. Sodium becomes positively charged. Chlorine becomes negatively charged. The sodium is what we call a cation, and the chlorine is what we call an anion. Cations have positive charges, anions have negative charges. So now they're attracted to each other and they're going to stick together due to their opposite charges. And so we have formed a molecule of NaCl, or table salt. Also in ionic bonding, we can have things that are called polyatomic ions. This is a group of atoms that act like one ion. For example, NH4, it has a positive 1 charge. This is called an ammonium ion. CO3 is a carbonate ion and has a negative 2 charge. And PO4, negative 3, is a phosphate ion and has a negative 3 charge. So these are all polyatomic ions. It's more than one atom joined together to form an ion. Polyatomic ions act just like any other negative ion when bonding. So here we have Na, which has sodium is going to give up its electron and become positively charged, and we have SO4, which is going to gain 2 electrons and is going to have a negative 2 charge. So all we have to do is take our negative 1, or our positive 1, move it after the SO4, so we don't need a subscript there, and our negative 2 is going to come down here, and we have, and so 2 NAs are going to bond with 1 SO4. So here's another example of our ionic bonding. We have aluminum has a +3 charge. NO3 has a negative 1 charge. So this negative 1 is going to give us 1 aluminum. This +3 is going to give us 3 NO3s. So we end up with Al1 NO3 3. And don't forget, we're going to put that in parentheses so we know it's 3 of everything. Next, let's talk about covalent bonding. Covalent bonding is when an atom of one nonmetal shares 1 or more electrons with an atom of another nonmetal. So both atoms end up with 8 valence electrons. So in ionic bonding, we had a metal bonding with a nonmetal. In covalent bonding, we typically have 2 nonmetals. Instead of one giving up electron, they're going to share electrons. So here we have fluorine. You can see it has 7 valence electrons. Well, it needs 1 more valence electron. A second atom also has 7. So fluorine can share an electron with the other fluorine atom, giving each of them 8 valence electrons. So both of them are going to end up with full orbitals. So 8 valence and 8 valence. Another example, hydrogen and oxygen. We have hydrogen has 1 valence electron, and remember its outer shell needs a grand total of 2 to become a full shell. We have oxygen here, which has, if we count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's going to need 2 more to fill up its outer shell. So each hydrogen, 1 valence. Each hydrogen wants 1 more. The oxygen has 6 valence electrons, and it wants 2 more. So they're going to share to make each other happy. So the hydrogen atom bonds with the oxygen atom, sharing 1 of its valence electrons. So now the hydrogen atom has its 2 valence that it needs. The oxygen atom now has 7 valence electrons. So now we're going to put all our pieces together. So our first hydrogen is happy, but now we see our oxygen still wants 1 more. So we bring in another hydrogen atom, and it is happy. It has 2 valence electrons, and our oxygen now has 8. So every atom now has a full energy levels, and we formed water. Okay, that is it for today. Hope you learned a little bit of something. Thank you very much.